there is a very unusual connection between technology and creativity, in my opinion. If we notice along the history of cinematography, usually every new technology that's supposed to help the creativity to have much more freedom to express themselves, usually at the beginning is almost stopped that kind of creativity. Thinking for a moment when the silent movie started to build up their own expression, and step by step the camera becomes so important to express the meaning visually of every single contest. When the sound came up, because the camera was so noisy, they have to build a blimp around. They even build a kind of a box around the camera operator. So the camera lost his own expression. The freedom that he had before in the silent movie with all the camera movement, to invent the vision, to invent the kind of visual language into the silent movie, suddenly with the new technology coming up, the sound almost lost it. For a very long time, cinema lost its own freedom to move, to search for a new vision. Only after a while, the technology is helping to give back new freedom once again. Later on, when color was arriving in a film industry, apart from the very few examples in the 30s through Technicolor, but mainly worldwide, it was in the 50s, suddenly everyone was so fear about shadows. We lost the freedom to use light and shadows to express a specific story in a specific vision. Soon after that moment, people were using so much light in every direction, mostly came from theater, let's say. In theater, any place where the actor were going, there was a specific spot arriving on him. Every moment that an actor was turning, he was receiving a light from wherever he was looking at. One from here, one from there, if I was looking over there, one from the other side, if I was looking the other side. That was the moment when, particularly in Europe, people realized that probably color was not any good for dramatic scene, and only for comedy, and black and white was the right dimension to express in a very intimate way dramatic story. They forgot the lesson that Greg Toland gave it probably 15, 20 years before. But at that moment, that was the moment when Gianni Di Venanzo came up, and he was a kind of revolutionary man that really changed completely the vision of the entire lifestyle all around the world, in my opinion. That was the moment when I remember that I was studying in Centro Sperimentale here in Rome, in Italy. And for us, Gianni Di Venanzo was a new star in the sky. He was the only man that was able to create in a mood, an atmosphere, through a completely freedom way to use light. Any other cinematographer at that time was so prisoner of the principle of key light, fill light, backlight, which was the sense of what they were teaching to us in at school at that time. It was so logic is a new, completely new. It was not an invention, it was an idea, it was an intuition. The fact that there's no doubt that any interior never received light from the sky. Only in theater you receive light from the sky. So every set at that time, normally they were budget and they were prepared with the bridge all around, with all the projector all around. And Gianni arrived suddenly at that time in Italian film industry. I don't need any longer all of this. Throw out everything. I need probably this light just bounce on the white wall. Or maybe I need the light coming through the window, through another place. He changed completely the vision of practically Michelangelo Antonioni's movie, Francesco Rosi's movie, La Sfida, Salvatore Giuliano, the movie with Francesco Maselli, Gli Indifferenti, Gianni Di Lorenzo became the reference for every new director in Italy at that time. That if I have one or two movies from Aldo Graziati, one or two movies from Greg Toland, yes, there are at least 20 movies in front of me of Gianni Di Lorenzo. Because at that time it was spread through so many directors in so many films at that moment. It was basically doing every interesting movie during that time, Gianni Di Lorenzo. Because there was this kind of new wave, new look they created. Any director, the established one or the new director, they were looking for this kind of style. People were coming out from studios and going mainly in location. The mixing between the natural environment, the natural light, and the combination of some artificial light that was supposed to be not any longer, as we said before, on top, coming from the ceiling, or coming maybe from the window, maybe from the door, maybe bounce on that wall. Anyhow, was more integrated to the natural light, let's say, in every single location. No doubt it was giving more a believable look. You were believing much more that scene really happening, that set, in that dramatic moment with the dramaturgy arriving at that levels between two different characters, because you was feeling more. There was no fake. There was no theatrical. There was more connected with everyday's life. Even if I insist, everything was a very specific concept in everything. It was the shot was very well researched, the light was very well calibrated, and the costume was very well designed and so on. But was put more into a natural environment, let's say. So they become more natural, the lighting that they use, no doubt. Michelangelo Antonioni, Federico Fellini, and Francesco Rosi was looking for something like that. Because it was not possible Francesco Rosi doing La Sfida, or I Magliari, or Le Mani sulla Città, or Salvatore Giuliano in a studio. You have to go to Sicily, where the bright light was very violent, the interior was very dark, and you have to use that kind of contrast to tell the dramatic look, the dramatic story. Was also the dramatic way of living, which was also the heat, which was the sweating, which was the very dark interior. Everything was connected. So somebody like Gianni, with this very simple, revolutionary way of seeing lighting in that natural environment, gave it practically the key reference in the way the cinematography is supposed to be at that time. So the freedom of light from Gianni Di Lorenzo, the painting lesson from Aldo Graziati, the very strong vision, almost imperialistic of Greg Toland, was for us at that time, my generation, that kind of possible combination that we can come out. And we couldn't understand any other lesson. I remember one day I was in my last year of the Italian Film School at Centro Sperimentale. I was doing my short film, and instead to do what they told me to do, I threw everything out myself. I used just one light coming through a main window, only one single light. And I remember the teacher was screaming at me because he said that I was doing something that I was not supposed to do, but I couldn't see in any other way. Some very strong personality, like was Gianni Di Lorenzo, even work with different directors. You can always tell there was his style, this kind of lighting that was so precise that you can be very recognizable. Particularly at the beginning, it was mainly used bounce light, was mainly used very little, what we call pinza, very little light like this one. They was given against white wall and heavy sun bounce light, so Spreading was using a lot of natural light combined with this bounce light, particularly with Michelangelo Antonioni. There was a kind of totally new look in the 60s at that time. But in 8.5 with Fellini, there was something that was completely different. Was much more precise. Any single relation between light and shadows that, in my opinion, was in any other movie that Gianni did. No doubt that that's probably depends from the connection with the director. No doubt that particularly with that kind of movie, 8.5 is the only movie that I know, in my opinion, made by an artist that is consider his own problem, that is consider his own the drama that he has, having ideas in expressing himself, and through this major question, a major doubt, is creating a masterpiece. Is so connected with conscious and unconscious, with what he want to try to do, and everything that is the journey that is doing with him himself, the character of 8.5. There was no doubt that there was need a new Gianni Di Venezia. Particularly in 8.5, he was able to, with the renovated Gianni, putting together this great combination of something that is, this is what I am now, this is what I was yesterday, this is what I would like to be tomorrow. There is an incredible connection between unconscious, conscious, overconscious. And I was noticed in the review in 8.5, everything is connected with these three main elements: shadows, connected with the unconscious. Every time they remember something, they go back when they say, the magician arrives to him, what are you thinking? And he says, well, the woman says, I don't know what you mean, but it seems that I realize that you are thinking of a very strange word, which is Asa Nisi Masa. And he is so happy because that's exactly what he was thinking. He was thinking a magic word when they heard when he was a child. And suddenly, for the first time, you see shadows on the wall. You see shadows of these little kids moving around in this huge room, and this woman taking this baby and bathing them in this beautiful, great white sheet. More and more, the leading characters go into his memory, and the more you see the shadows all around the world, more is making a connection between the memories, the unconscious, the everything is in his back, everything is in background, connected with shadows. And the more is about his own imagination, like when he's visualized the beautiful creature, the Claudia Cardinale, is like an angel. And suddenly everything become totally white, totally bright. It's like it's like an enlightenment. This is an example that I mentioned several times to my student, that an Indian guru, Yogananda, in his journey within the different levels of consciousness, made a connection. The more, if we live in the life of consciousness, the more we can go down in our unconscious, the more we can go up in our overconscious. And that's 8.5. The deeper you go into his memory, the higher you go into his imagination. And also he said, every time that we have an intuition, every time that we have an idea, every time that we have that we understand something, it's like we are able to go over our conscious level and after we come out. And in watching again recently 8.5, often I really realized this great chance that we have to go beyond reality, to go beyond the normal vision, to go beyond consciousness. Probably this is a consideration that I'm doing today. I'm not sure if I was able to do the same connection, the same consideration probably a few years ago. But now, in watching 8.5, it really gave me this incredible vision about the 3 stages of our life. And Gianni, no doubt without the great direction of Federico Fellini, he was able to portray this with the huge shadows, the memory, with the incredible number of tonality, the today's life, the consciousness, with the very strong, very high, bright tonality, connected with the imagination that the main character is doing. And that's probably, I found, the most elaborated cinematographically movie that Gianni Venanzo did in his life.